Welcome back to the Chicago Tomahawk. I'm Mike, and I got my linemate Matt with me. And today we're going to talk about some Blackhawks camp news. Camp has begun, and we're going to talk about some NHL news. So, Matt, camp has begun, man, and you know what? It seemed like the offseason was a nice length this year. Last year, it seemed like it was really short. This year, it seemed like it was nice and long. The camp has begun. It's pretty awesome. I heard reports that Hall missed like the first day or something with like a lower body, like ankle injury or something. It's not good news hearing that this guy is already having ailments and, you know, it hasn't really even taken any contact yet. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I don't think it was that serious. He came back the next day and he was actually playing with Connor Bedard and Ryan Donato.
Right. How is that going?
They look pretty good. And like I said, if Connor Bedard fires the puck more than passing, he's going to score 40 goals, dude. Easy. The guy, The shot, the release is unbelievable. I think the guys from Spit and Chicklets actually think that he's going to get over 45. I think it'll be close to 35, 40 goals for me if he's a shoot-first mentality player because, man, I'm telling you, like, it's crazy because he's not a big kid. Not yet, at least. He's kind of smaller, but his release, dude, it's just like, he looks like he is just absolutely like a force out there with that shot. And if you get Taylor Hall playing, you know, you're not going to get Taylor Hall Hart Trophy from New Jersey days, but if he could play and stay healthy, I think he's going to get a lot of assists with this kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I love his release, man. And I was watching some clips from the Blackhawks Twitter page, and you know, they were showing them doing some drills together. And you know, man, somebody who's been standing out to me that a lot of people haven't talked about, but he's starting to be brought up more, is Wyatt Kaiser. He wore the C for the Blackhawks in the prospect showcase. I think that was last weekend or 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
And he's really flying under the radar, but a lot of people are high on him. Have you been watching any clips of him?
I've seen him look pretty solid out there. And another guy would be Nolan Allen, who Luke Richardson said that him and Wyatt Kaiser are both very solid defensemen. He didn't say if they're like going to make the team, but they're definitely going to be competing for spots.
Yeah, it kind of comes to a point where if these kids are ready to play in the NHL and, you know, going back down is more of a hindrance to them, why don't we have a roster spot for them, especially if these kids are going to be the future?
Yeah, I would definitely make room for these guys because there's no expectations this year. There's probably none for next year either, except just develop, you know, get better and better. And then, you know, obviously you go for it, say, this is it, we're going for it. We got a playoff expectation, but it's going to be tough because you got to figure Seth Jones automatically will have a spot. Connor Murphy, unfortunately, has a spot. I think they should move from him. Yeah. Nothing against the kid. I was
going to bring him up.
I just don't think, I don't know what he does, what his role is. And I don't think he's really ever gotten that role here. Because he's been on bad teams and stuff, but
yeah,
he's not a puck mover. He's not a scoring defenseman. I see him get beat a lot in his own end. He kind of gets lost a little bit. He does play physical. I hear he's a really good leader in the locker room, but it's one thing being a good leader in the locker room and showing it on the ice. I don't really think that he shows it on the ice. I know he seems like a good teammate and everything, but I don't know if there really is a future for him. And if you can move him, I absolutely would try to move him if I'm Davidson.
Would you say that there are maybe 4 spots up for grabs for the Blackhawks on the defensive
I think
end?
So. Yeah, I think so. I think they made the right decision getting rid of Jake McCabe last year and getting assets for him. I like Jake McCabe. I like his feistiness. He was tough. And I think the Maple Leafs, honestly, they need more players like that. And, you know, clearly they addressed that need with the new GM bringing in Ryan Reeves, Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi, and now he's got a feisty Jake McCabe that he got from the last GM. So they're going to be different, a different playoff team this year. But back to the Hawks, I think there really is. I just don't think there's a spot for a lot of these guys, and I would leave everything open. And if you don't have if they're not in the future plans, now is the time to move them. Like even a Tyler Johnson, he's not going to be here when the Hawks are going to be competing again. And you know what? He's on his last year of his contract, $6 million. I think he's making. He's a good player still. You put him on a good team, good line. He's going to put up some good numbers and stuff.
He's got some bite too.
Yeah, I like Tyler Johnson. I thought he, there was a lot of hype with him coming in. I was excited, but he got hurt. He had that, I believe it was that same neck injury as Jack Eichel.
Yeah,
and he got that fusion work done, and he came back sooner than expected. So it was good to see. But there's a lot of guys that I'm really not sure like why we're holding on to so long. But I understand you need the veteran presence and stuff like that, and especially when you're bringing in a lot of kids. But I'm the player I'm most excited about, obviously Connor Bedard, but I'm still excited for Reichel, a full year of Reichel, which could be very good.
I am too, and to be honest with you, I think that he, with Bedard coming in, I think that he takes a little bit of the, spotlight off of Reichel a little bit, but most notably, I think that he takes some of the spotlight off of other players as well. If it was just Kevin Korchinski coming up, everything would be like, let's see how ready he is. Yep. Is he ready? Nolan Allen, is he Brent Seabrook, type of a thing. And people are excited for them, but everything is like, what is Connor Bedard doing? Oh, he's going to go get his lunch. Oh, he's
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's doing this, he's doing that. It's more about that than more about, has anybody heard about Wyatt Kaiser? And it's allowing some of these other players to fly under the radar, which is good, so they can concentrate on hockey and not on some of these other things. Especially with these interviews, man. It just seems
it's
like
all Connor. Even
it
when
seems
he's
like
not,
these guys, he's constantly doing interviews, dude, and it's kind of getting to a point where if I was Davidson, I would say, hey, we need to cut his interview availability by 50% because all I see are new videos of this kid. Let's let this kid get adjusted. It's been 2 days of camp so far.
Well, even the other players, the questions are about Bedard.
Right.
Poor Nick Foligno. He's been a veteran for a very long time, and I feel like his whole interview was Bedard. It's like, hey, how are you feeling? Like, how do you like the city? Stuff like that. Not, say, I heard you invited Connor Bedard over and your kids wanted to play shinny with him.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he's like, I warned my kids, but, the poor kid walks through the door and he's playing shinny hockey with my kids, which is cool. I mean,
it is.
Kid is a good kid,
And he's like, I think... Yeah. He goes, I think Connor wanted to play more than they did.
Yeah. His release is so amazing. He was putting them bar down under his kids' shoulders and stuff. but I like just listening to some of it. Nick Foligno, he's been around, man. He's a good player. He's a good captain for many years in Columbus, and I think he brings a lot to this team. He's going to be, he's going to be a leader in the locker room. He's going to be probably might be a penalty kill guy, maybe some power play time, but definitely a guy you need when you're bringing up a lot of kids and you want guys. Me personally, I honestly thought Jonathan Toews would be the best guy to have in that locker room. I'm not sure, why they're moving on from him, but I get it. They want to start fresh, a new clean slate here and everything, but that's a guy that, 3 Stanley Cups, gold medals, Selke trophies. That's a guy I'd want to learn from every day. And I know he's not the same and stuff like that. But Nick Foligno is a guy who, he's not as good as Taser, obviously. But, you got Corey Perry. He's won a Stanley Cup. And Taylor Hall's a veteran, too. He's been around a lot, though. He's been traded, bouncing back and from other teams and stuff. So it's got to make you think like, hey, why isn't it working out with this guy? He was a first-round draft pick, Right. So,
it's kind of something I wanted to bring up to you is that, Taves, I think that I understand that they want to move on from, the cup teams because those teams those guys, man, Kaner and Taves, dude, they're walking legends there. They're, in all honesty, dude, they're, I think, the two biggest stars of the Chicago Blackhawks in their history. They played during the best Blackhawks era in history. And anybody who's like, oh yeah, we got Bobby Hall and Stan Mikita, they were good too. It's like, yeah, they put up a bunch of points, but they didn't win 3 Stanley Cups.
Nope.
When you look up into the rafters and you start counting Stanley Cups, you don't see Bobby Hall had 60 goals this season. It doesn't have that. It has a Stanley Cup on there, and Taves and Kane each have 3.
Yep.
And yeah, I get it that they have that, and it's apparently in a bad way, kind of hanging over them, and that Davidson is looking for this young team to kind of build their own leaders, which is kind of what Taves and Kane had. They came into a team that was not very good. The Blackhawks were a bad team, and they were looking to change things. And I think that Davidson is looking to repeat that. I get it, but Taves was a guy, man, that even when they were awful, he was pissed when guys were being traded because he just bought into the team.
Yep.
And you can't ask, because I would ask myself, like, dude, how is this guy so upset that these dudes are being moved on from, And you got to think about maybe the non-hockey side of thing, that he's taken the time to get to know guys and be a leader to them, and it's tough. It was tough on him.
But he has to see he was part of the problem. When Kane and Taves were both making 10.5 a year, that was part of the reason why a lot of guys came and gone, I mean,
sure.
If you think about it, Taves never really had a solid line mate ever. Same with
Other
Kane.
than Hossa.
Hossa probably was his best line mate. Maybe Saad. Played a lot with Taves.
Those were his 2 best line mates, and I think that a lot of people say the Breadman, and then Kaner. we can talk about DeBrincat, with Kaner. But to be honest with you, man, I think that Sharp was one of Kane's best line mates because
Sharpie and Kane.
Yeah, because he turned Sharpie into a 35 goal scorer, and Sharpie started out at centering Kane's line, but then ended up going to wing.
Yeah. I mean, you could, it's debatable. You got Sharpie, Cat, DeBrink, or Panarin only played with Kane for 2 years. And I mean, can you imagine if they played longer? He would probably be his greatest line mate ever, the way that they were going, but
maybe Panarin would score in the playoffs. I mean, I could take that back because they were in the playoffs one year and he didn't score at all.
Yeah, he has trouble. He's got to get it going this year for sure. I mean,
maybe shaving his head will help.
Or leaving the KGB, maybe. But who knows? I mean, they're just. I don't get that team. I know we're getting off subject here, but that Rangers team I just don't get, and that they're going to overwork Shesterkin. Very good goalie, and they did bring in Jonathan Quick, but he's not LA Kings 2012 Jonathan Quick anymore, not even close. But I just don't get it. I think that window might have closed with the Rangers. I like what they did last year in bringing in Kaner, but man, they lost to a hungry New Jersey team, and they're very young. And I think the Hawks are going to be that team maybe 2-3 years. Kind of with Bedard as the star, and like Jack Hughes over there, kind of getting a good supporting cast now, and. I just think the Rangers, that window is closed, and I just don't get it. And poor Panarin, because he wanted the spotlight, He wanted to be the big cheese, and just... and
he can't handle it.
Yeah, dude, it's tough there, man. When you're playing in Columbus, you got maybe... half a building full, maybe. The pressure's not there. There's really no expectations, and... You go to New York, it's like, geez, dude, everybody knows what kind of laces I'm wearing. They talk about like just little things and stuff. It's paying a toll on them, I think.
Yeah. It's funny. I think we were talking about Taves and leadership in the Blackhawks this year. They're not going to be there. There isn't going to be a captain. It's kind of up in the air. Some people want someone to be named, and other people what does it matter? Who really cares? But In a way, it does really matter because usually the captain is kind of the heartbeat of the team. He's kind of the guy that kind of sets the tone. And no, you don't have to have a letter to do that. But at the same time, every team usually names one. They want to give it to Bedard, but who knows, man? Maybe there could be somebody else that pops up on that roster that takes that C.
Yep.
You would think that, Kane was a big star for the Blackhawks and he didn't get a letter for a long time. That was because our leadership group was well established.
Well, yeah, before Taves, Siebes was that guy,
right?
Like the plan was, this is our next captain, Seabrook, right. And obviously Taves came in, and they're like, wow, this guy makes Seabrook look like a quiet kid. This kid can lead in the locker room vocally. They follow his lead on the ice, and I mean, he's captain serious, So yeah. I think we got to give it to this kid, and they made the right decision. I think Siebes was a good leader. When
he
Taves, lost it, Siebes was there to kind of calm him down and
just to
be a voice.
Know, like, hey, dude, we're in this.
Yeah.
We need you. We don't need you in the box. We need you out of here.
One of the best leadership moments in Hawks history was when Siebes went over to tell Taves, settle the frick down. We're good. We're good.
And he didn't have a letter either.
I think he had an A, no?
No, he didn't at the time. It was
Sharpie and Keith.
Yeah,
right?
Sharpie and Keith, yeah.
Wow,
and
you're right.
Seabrook is the epitome of you don't need to have a letter on your jersey to be a leader on the team. Yeah. And he was definitely regarded as one of the leaders on the team.
Oh, for sure. Those bad years before the Kane and Taves era.
Oh yeah,
I think he had an A,
or even just
times.
during that era, that Stanley Cup era.
It was
I'll be honest with you, they should have just given him a letter, man.
Yeah, you look
really
back,
think about it.
Thinking about
it's not that he needed one, but more of like a sign from the organization saying, "Hey, look, man, Sharpie and Keith aren't going anywhere, man, but neither are you. But just as a sign of appreciation, you deserve one of these."
Well, they could have said, "Hey, you know what? On the road, you get an A, no matter what.
Sure.
And at home, Keith, you're getting the other A, no matter what." And I believe it's going to be like that this year. There's going to be, you might see 7 different people wearing A's this year. And I think at some point at the end of the year, Connor's going to get an A. And, Seth Jones will have an A. Probably Connor Murphy, because they freaking rave about his leadership. And I can't really say because I'm not in that locker room.
A lot of the guys who come in, a lot of them say the first thing that they say is like, "Yeah, Connor Murphy's been great, and he's been a welcoming type of guy.
Sure,
he's not a Blake Wheeler or a."
Well, you just don't want to give a guy an A. You don't know what you're going to do with him in the future. It's kind of a long-term commitment for me. I'd like to see, say Kevin Korchinski is just a stud, and the Luke Richards is like, "Wow, this kid's leadership's unbelievable," and he's like, "You know what? Corch, you're getting an A all year. We got big plans for you, and you're wearing an A no matter what type of thing. Let's hypothetically, you get the A."
Or what about Wyatt Kaiser?
Even Wyatt Kaiser wore the C with the prospects. Sure.
What if this kid? They're like, you know what, man? This kid is the captain. Connor's great, and he'll get an A. But you know what? And he's our organization. But this kid right here, he's the guy. He's the captain,
those guys could happen. Nolan Allen, those guys, it could happen.
Those guys usually stand out,
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why he got it. The organization knows, like, this kid is a real deal leader. So, I think Seth is going to have an A. Connor Murphy, obviously Foligno, Corey Perry might have it a couple times. Yeah. Guys like that, and it's cool. I would definitely keep a revolving door type of thing. Like, let's bring in some more. Let's see what these guys got. Let's have away leaders, and we're going to have home leaders. Sure. And it's kind of going to be like a competition type of thing. Like, who's going to want it? Who's putting in the work? Who's being vocal? Who's showing it on the ice type of thing? I mean, I think in the end, Connor's going to get it because it's his team. Yeah, I mean, we're building the franchise clearly around this kid now.
Right.
And he might not want it. So, you never know. I'm sure if he gets it, he's going to take the honor of it and the responsibility, no problem. But he could easily say, you know what? I don't think I'm ready yet, and they're going to give it to, like you said, Wyatt Kaiser or, Nolan Allen, somebody like Lucas Reichel. He's pretty outspoken in the locker room, I've heard. And
oh, really?
He sounds like a vampire, but you know what? He could be a good leader on this team. I love the way that kid plays.
Yeah, I do too.
And they're moving him to center now. I was reading.
Well, I mean, that's his natural position.
Yeah, I like it. I like that 1-2 punch of Connor. And is Connor on the wing or is Taylor Hall playing center?
From what I've seen, is Connor at center.
Okay, so you got Connor Bedard, number 1 line center. Lucas Reichel, number 2. Dude, that's two damn good prospects. 1 and 2.
But how? I mean, I want to see what these guys are like at the dot, though.
Well, if all the reports say Connor is like almost a carbon copy of Sid with everything,
really,
except he's got a better shot, and
that's
this kid is just a competitor, dude. His faceoffs are gonna get down. He's gonna work on it. The kid's a freaking workhorse. So
yeah, he is.
If anything, if this kid's gonna be the next Crosby, dude, we are so lucky. I mean, on and off the ice, that Crosby's a freaking beauty, dude. I know early in his career he was kind of like the crybaby, but if you look at a lot of the hits he's taken, like Darian Hatcher, he used to abuse him. Like, you're like, how the hell did that guy get away with that? Yeah. Sid was just protecting himself. And yes, he came across as a whiner, but I think he matured. Obviously, 3 Stanley Cups, every other award you can imagine of, he's gotten it. So
he was a great player, and he's still a great player.
I love watching Sid. That backhand is absolutely lethal.
He's the only one I'll probably admit is better than Kaner's, man.
It is
actually
but he can fire it from anywhere, dude.
Yeah,
anywhere, top of the circle backhand, and he'll bar down it. Usually you see Kaner get close, and he's like a surgeon with that thing. But Sid, man, I watched a clip of him yesterday. It was from 2015. A 1-on-1 game versus Bedard. Or I'm sorry, not Bedard. He'd be like a little kid. Brad Marchand.
Like
Brad Marchand. He absolutely made Brad Marchand look like a 4th liner. He was using his body to protect the puck. He was doing spins on him. It was insane. And he can still do that.
He's still I think that his possession game is underrated.
Well, just like kids can learn a lot by that. I mean, he turns his whole body. He's got the puck with one hand. He's protecting. He's thinking of the next outlet where he can go. I see a lot of Connor, that prospect game. Connor Bedard was doing those cuts too to protect the puck using his body. So that dude, it's crazy how much these skaters have just evolved, because a lot of these guys now can't do that. And so Connor's 18 doing that. Crazy.
So listen to this. Since 2009-2010 season, these are the top goals by type. Okay, backhand. You're not going to believe this. Number 1, Brad Marchand.
Wow,
68
backhand goals.
Yeah. Sidney Crosby, number 2 with 62. Jordan Eberle, number 3 with 56.
Wow.
Kaner, number 4 with 52. And I did not see this coming. Jeff Skinner at number 5 with 49.
You know what? He was a stud with the Hurricanes, man. And then he had a good bounce back here with the Sabres. That one when he had a really rough year, I think his first year there, and then he had a good year. Yeah, his backhand is pretty good. Thinking about it now, Jeff Skinner. I'm surprised with Jordan Eberle. That's another it's another Edmonton Oiler reject.
Top wrist shot goals: Patrick Kane 252, Alex Ovechkin 247, John Tavares 232, Phil Kessel 213, Jamie Benn 208.
Wow, Kaner has Ovi likes to tee him up, so
he does.
He's gonna pass him up this year, though.
Yeah, and here is he's got by slap shot though. So by slap shot, it's Ovi with 168. Stamkos with 133, Shea Weber with 118, PK Subban at 79, and Drew Doughty at 72.
Drew Doughty, look at that. Defenseman on the board. All right.
And might as well get the tip in here. Since 2009, 2010, one of your favorite players, Chris Kreider with 75. Number 2, Joe Pavelski at 67. Tied at number 3 is James Van Riemsdyk and Patrick Hornquist with 56, and Anders Lee with 54.
Chris Kreider, the garbage man.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. I wanted to bring that up. But Matt, I want to talk about, I just mentioned Steven Stamkos.
My boy.
What is going on with him and the Lightning management?
Well, he's been very disappointed in the lack of talking with his contract extension. And he said this at camp, at the beginning of camp, and a lot of people in the media took it as like a shot, to the GM, and here we go, a type of words of war going on here. And so right now he's got a full no movement clause. He's got it on the last year of his contract. I think it's only $6.5 million, dude. For some reason, I thought he was making $8 million. So I was wrong.
I thought
on
that he was too.
So it was an 8-year deal he just signed. This was his previous contract. It was a $68 million contract, but his cap hit is 6.5. So he technically is making 8, but his hit's lower.
Right.
Yeah. The problem with that, man, they got so much money invested in like these. Remember when they were going through that extension like obsession? They had Vasilevsky sign a deal, Cooch sign a deal, Braden Point. Brandon Hagel
Braden Point had to get paid.
Oh, heck yeah. He's super underrated goal scorer. Absolutely. They need to do that. But, I'm a big Steven Stamkos fan. He's 33. Lately the injuries, he only played one game, that first cup run they had, and he ended up scoring in it, but he couldn't play the rest of the series.
Right.
Yeah, man.
I sent you that link on Twitter where it had like the picture of the guy. He was like the biggest champion, spraying the champagne, giving the middle finger to everybody, and it had Stamkos on there. That was so funny.
Well, he you know what? The game he played, he probably played through so much pain, and he still ended up getting a goal. He's like, I got to get one game in there so my name gets on that cup. And just to do it and score, that's ballsy, dude. But, I've been a Lightning fan, I will say, since like the 90s. I got family connections out there, and I used to go when they used to play at the Sundome or whatever it was called, where the Devil Rays actually play now, or the Rays, sorry. But they played there. I think it was called the Tropicana Dome, and it was really cool back in the day. It would be a lot of like if I went to see the Hawks play there, it would be like 50% Hawks fans, maybe more. Just guys traveling to see the team and stuff, or Chicago Snowbirds out there. But, I started liking them. I'm like, I like this team, they're going to be good in a couple of years. And, 2004, their first cup, Vinny LeCavalier, Marty St. Louis, young Brad Richards, who got the Conn Smythe that year. He ended up coming with us and winning another cup in 2015.
That was his second year, right?
I think it was. Yeah, he was young. He got paid, too. They paid him well.
Yeah, they did.
And Nikolai Habibulin was awesome in the playoffs. And, he went to free agency. Actually signed with the Blackhawks the next year. Dale Talon got him. Didn't work out, obviously. He didn't really do much. He was hurt a lot. And he was good, though. He made some big saves and had some good games. But I really like that team, and then I remember they got lucky. They drafted Stamkos, and I was like, man, this kid's got a lot of hype to him, And I think the coach was Barry Melrose, actually, his first coach. He's like, this guy shouldn't have made the team. He's too young. Blah blah blah. Steven Stamkos puts up unbelievable numbers, and I think the game he played the Blackhawks, I think it might have been 2010, dude. He scored like, I think he got a hat trick and 5 points. And I'm like, why the hell would Barry Melrose, Mr. ESPN Hockey, say this kid's not ready? It's unbelievable, Yeah. And he's like, my point, he's like been the heart and soul of this team. So, kind of like a Kane and Taves. This is a guy I think they got to take care of him. But you look at his injuries, and then you look at the problem with the cap. Like I said, they got too many guys making big coin. It's going to be really hard to keep this guy. He could test free agency next year, or maybe they're going to move him. But I think it would be a shame, just because all the blood and guts, man. He was the first. He was not the first captain, but he was the captain for both of these last two cups, and huge part of it, dude. Very underrated goal scorer. 500 goals. So
that's a pretty cool. Well, at the beginning, he had 2 years in a row. I think he hit 60.
Yeah, he had 61 year, and I think 30. He might have got his first year. He's just a natural shooter. He's got that, like you said, he was top 5 in slap shot goals. He's got a cannon.
He does.
And I think quietly last year he put in 40. I think it was a 40 goal season for him.
Let me double check. I think he hit 100 or 85 points.
Yeah, and he's got 515 goals. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. Once you get over that 500 goal mark, you're in. So, and he's got 2 cups. Yeah. He's been a great leader. I just can't see a GM saying, "Hey, we don't have a contract for you." It's kind of it's
especially tough. Since you've been their captain for like 10
tough,
years,
man. Yeah, and he's a legend in that city. You know,
he is.
He can walk around. That's Steven Stamkos, captain of the Lightning. You know, and
I mean, well, look at this. So 21-22 Lightning. He had 42 goals, 64 assists, 106 points. He was a plus 24 last year. 22-23. He was, I should say, this past season, 22-23 season, he had 34 goals, 50 assists for 84 points. Very impressive. And a -5.
Ooh.
So here's the thing, Matt. He's going to be, let's see here. He is 33. Okay. So how many years does he legitimately have left at his position, producing the way that he is? 34 goals and 50 assists is like Jack Hughes numbers.
Yeah.
And he got an $8 million a year deal. And I think that Stammer is worth that $8 million. Problem is that they've paid him a lot of money, and he's been hurt sometimes too.
I'd say
mainly
3 years,
between
dude.
2019 and 2020 and 21. 3 year?
I 3 year max.
Okay.
If you don't want to do 1 years, to make it work. And that's his home. Tampa's his home. I mean,
I wonder if he's asking term.
He probably is. I mean, I think he's more upset they just haven't even spoke yet. He out of the respect.
Right.
I understand that. Yeah, you're the captain. You're the face of that team. So I think 2 years, or just do 1 year every year. Let's work it out. Let's make sure we can do it, because they're over the cap right now. That's the problem.
Right.
And they let some good players go. I mean, they had to let Killhorn go. I think he went to the Ducks. He was a huge part of that team, a top 6 guy. They let Patrick Maroon go, who's a very important role player. Corey Perry obviously came here, and those are important guys. So I mean, they're kind of running into the problem the Hawks had when they were very good, winning all those cups, and these guys getting paid.
Right.
Now you got these guys that are just taking up more than 60% of the salary cap, and then you're filling them in with low tiered guys, and you're not going to be as good.
Same thing happened with Boston. That's why Milan Lucic went to Edmonton for a $6 million contract.
Yeah, and that ended up hurting Edmonton too.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. So, really, really crazy, man. When I think of the Lightning, I think of Steven Stamkos.
I'm wearing a shirt right now that says Stamkos 91. So I'm a big fan of Stamkos, and I would welcome him with open arms to the Blackhawks, because that is a guy who could I love the old school tee up shooter, sniper, top of the circle, rip it right by a goalie type guy. But he's got bringing cup experience. He's a center. It's just he's probably going to want to go chase another cup, because that's what winners like to do.
It's the injury bug, though, man.
And somebody will pay. Somebody's going to pay him, dude.
Maybe Ottawa.
I'm thinking Jersey even.
You might as well throw Toronto in there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, because he's from
Toronto. Yeah. Toronto and the Rangers. Since the Rangers for some reason are mixed up in every single deal that's made in the NHL for some reason.
Well, they got the history of trading with Tampa too. Obviously, they trade big trades. But I get to see Stamkos. Can you imagine him and Jack Hughes playing together?
Could you imagine him going to Toronto and they win a cup?
Oh, that would suck. But I don't think they're going to win the cup either. I think they're a lot better with the roster that they have. They're more like
gritty,
and they could play any way they want. I think if they want to skill it up, they can. If they want to play tough, gritty hockey, they can. Like I said before, I don't like the goaltending. The goaltending is the weakest link of that team. And if they are going to get a goalie, now is the time. You got Nylander, who's a good player. You can get a really good goalie in return named Connor Hellebuck, but I don't know what they're waiting for with that.
I heard they're looking to move Nylander to center, and they've got him listed as the third line center right now.
I just read a report they're trying to trade him.
They're trying to trade him?
Yep. They're trying to move him for assets and stuff, and the asset and I'm looking at is goaltending. It is the weakest link of the team. I think they had a really good goalie in Jack Campbell, and I think Campbell wanted to get paid. He ended up going to Edmonton, and it was his first year. Not bad, but that Skinner kid outplayed him for the net.
Yeah.
But they were really good with Freddie Anderson too, man. Freddie Anderson's a good goalie, but you can't rely on just the goalie. You need your goal scorers to score goals and play big in big moments and stuff like that. And I think if they got a guy like Connor Hellebuck, that's a guy who can steal you games. Obviously, the Jets don't score a lot of goals. They're a very boring team, and somehow they make the playoffs a lot, and it's because of that kid.
Nylander is so porous defensively, but he puts up similar numbers to Marner in the offseason. Yeah. How do you weigh that?
He shows up. Yeah. I don't know, man. I get a weird feeling that what's his name? Kyle Dubas, who's now with Pittsburgh, is going to be like, hey, you know what? I'll take Nylander. He's one of my guys. I'll take him over. We'll give you a goalie, but he ain't going to be good,
Right. Oh, man, really interesting. So, and Matt, I mentioned Brad Marchand earlier. The Bruins named him captain. I think that it's kind of cool, considering how much time that he's spent in the organization and kind of giving him the ultimate honor in a way. All of the blood, sweat, and tears that he's literally given for the squad to name him captain for his remainder time with the team, which could be,
coming up.
Yeah.
The Bruins have been doing that lately. The Chara, they gave it to Bergeron. Bergeron was kind of, still good, but
that's old school, man.
Yeah. And who's going to get it next is Pasternak. So Pasta's going to get it pretty soon. And I personally probably would have gave it to Pasta just because he's he's obviously the future, but it's cool that they're doing that. I respect that, the old way and stuff. And he put his time in with the Bruins, and they want to pay him back, say, hey, lead this team. You're the captain now, bud.
Yeah, he's 35, so
he's got about 5 years. Maybe. I think he's small, good shape. I think he played at 40.
He could play 5 more years?
I think so. I think Marchand's a player. He doesn't really get hammered like a lot of the old. Like if it was the olden days, I don't even think he'd be playing long in the league. These little guys just they weren't. Like we talked about. I think last podcast actually. Like Denny Savard, I think it's a miracle that guy played that long and he wasn't destroyed. But it's kind of a smaller man's game now that dominate, and I think Brad Marchand still got it. He's a fast skater, good shape, and I think I can see him playing another 4 or 5 years for sure. I think he's gonna want to try to chase one more cup for sure.
Do you think the Bruins are in a position where he can do that?
I don't think they're going to be as good as last year. They lost a lot. Taylor Hall wasn't like that great for them, but it's a top 6 guy. Nick Foligno, they lost. They lost Bergeron, their freaking captain. The guy
a hurting soul.
Still can play at a Selke level till the day he retired, and that's big. The goaltending is very good, but we'll see how it is this year. It's going to be really hard to repeat that. Swayman and what's his name? Allmark, I think. And
you're right.
There's another trait. Like why wouldn't if you're the Leafs call on one of those guys? Like, hey, you got 2 good goalies and one's on the bench all the time. Like, let's make a splash,
Right. Marchand, listen to this, man. He's got 862 points in his career, and he's a plus 290.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive.
He's played with some really good guys, man. Really good guys.
He's only been a minus once, and that was when he played in the 2009-2010 season. He only played 20 games that year. 1 assist, 1 point. He was a -3 with 20 penalty minutes.
Jeez. Yeah, you know what? Are the penalty minutes down? I'm sure they're way down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. So I guess no.
No?
No, he had 74 this past season.
Wow.
97 the year before. 97 penalty minutes, had 80 points. A year before that, he had 46 in 53 games. The year before that, he had 82, and then 96 before then.
Well, you think guys like Tkachuk and Marchand, if they didn't play that feisty, how many points would they have?
Right.
You know?
Right. They have to play with that edge.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's captain now. You're not going to be one of, taking really stupid penalties, but, I could see him getting scrappy penalties, like defending a teammate and stuff like that. But the agitation, Marchand really can't be there now because they need him on the ice. They lost a lot, Yeah. I think he's going to play with Pasta. So his numbers will be good, I think.
Yeah, he's that type of player, though. He's a really skilled guy. He just plays that agitator. Well, he played that agitator role early in his career, and it's kind of defined him, even though that he's, an elite playmaker now.
He used to bite people, kiss people, lick people.
Lick people, lick guys.
Yeah. You know what, man? When he was playing the Canucks, him and Burrows, I hated both of them. I hated Alex Burrows.
I hate Burrows more.
Yeah, I did.
And
when I just seen Boston just beating up on those guys, I was like, go Boston. Frick Vancouver, And then you got guys like Tim Thomas in net throwing hits at Sedin. Like clean. Yeah. It was a clean hit too. He had possession of the puck. He puts him on his ass, and Brad Marchand just sticking his fingers by Burrows' mouth. Come on, bite me. Go ahead, do it. It was awesome. I'm glad that they lost.
Oh my gosh, man! You got anything else?
No, man. I'm really excited though. Preseason's coming up.
Preseason is coming up.
First Blackhawks Bedard action.
Do you know? Is he going to play in the first game, or are they going to have?
They have to. They have to play him. I think they're going to do it. There's some games going on right now. Toronto and Ottawa. I've watched a couple times. A couple minutes of it. I mean, and.
Yeah, I think Nylander's in that one.
And Stützle from Ottawa.
Stützle.
He's got a goal, and I saw a stat on the top. The Senators were 27-1 when he scored a goal. So, geez, man, hopefully he puts in a lot because they're in a really good division. So,
yeah, no kidding. Well, all right, everybody, that's all that we got for you today. Catch us next week, and we'll see you on the next one. This is the Tomahawk, and we're out of here.